Thank you, Crested Butte. And just a reminder, after we're done with the next two sessions, all the presenters will be on the perimeter of the room at these bistro tables. So if you have questions, please hold them until later. And I'm excited to welcome Lauren from Millig Design Build and Kate from Eagle County, who are going to present on Eagle County's decarbonization planning.
Yeah, thanks. My name is Kate Kirkman. I am with Eagle County's Resiliency Department. Oh, thank you. And I'm excited to share our decarbonization plan journey with you. It's a critical component of our meeting our greenhouse gas emissions through county operations. So a little bit about Eagle County. We are a community of about 55,000 people, and we range diverse mountain towns from ski resort areas like Vail and Beaver Creek that some of you might be familiar with, to grazing lands with a really rich ranching heritage. So we have a wide variety of uses that produce greenhouse gas emissions in the county. Our active outdoor lifestyle is something that we deeply value, so protecting it is really important. In fact, protecting our mountain ecosystem is one of our county's strategic priorities. So this plan gets full leadership support. I actually see some commissioners in the room, so thank you. And it connects our strategic priorities to the larger community climate action plan. Like probably everyone here, we have made great strides in terms of efficiency, renewables, and electrification. A prime example of that is our geothermal project, which is really exciting, underway right now. And it decarbonizes a 75,000 square foot campus, reducing about 140 tons of emissions every year. That said, looking at our efforts, the enormity of climate change, and the monumental task we all have at hand, we needed to scale up our efforts. So what's the best way to do that? Well, we had to reach out for a practical, systematic, step-by-step approach that really maps out the projects and resources that we need to meet our decarbonization goals. So we needed something that was cost-effective, something that was aligned with our existing capital improvement and replacement schedules, and we needed buy-in from other departments. I do see some folks from other departments at Eagle County here, so thank you to you as well. To get started, we took stock of kind of everything under the county's purview, so that would be buildings, fleets, equipment, things like that. And we got a bunch of departments together and wrote an RFP, reviewed it together, reviewed the responses together, and ultimately chose a consultant. And we chose Millig. Not only were they the highest scoring on our matrix, but they stood out as an energy performance contractor. They have a design-build approach. So in terms of getting those numbers into the budget, we have something fairly accurate. And they picked a subcontractor that we've worked with for years. They actually have all of our data for many, many years because they do our annual greenhouse gas inventories. And I see someone from Clear here as well, actually a few people from Clear. We're so excited about this project that in 2026, we're going to be paralleling this internal decarbonization plan with an external decarbonization plan. So we can really wrap our heads around what is our role, responsibility, and authority in helping meet our community climate action plan goals. So to dive a little bit deeper into the nuts and bolts of doing a decarbonization plan, I'm going to pass it off to Lauren Donley. She is the co-founder and vice president of Millig Design Build, and she'll give you a little more detail on the approach.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kate. So one of the reasons that Millig was selected is because we have deep experience in developing decarbonization master plans. Here on the screen, you see some of our flagship projects. We just completed a extensive decarbonization master plan for the Washington State Capitol campus, 3 million square feet to put in an ambient temperature loop with geothermal ground exchange. It's 150 million 15-year effort. We also have a lot of expertise in pharmaceuticals and manufacturing and critical environments. So all in all, over the last 5 years, we've produced decarbonization master plans for about 22 million square feet across North America. And what I can say from our experience is that you can do this, okay? We know it feels overwhelming. We know it's hard to know where to start, but what you need is a plan. So a decarbonization master plan, a thoughtful strategic plan, is going to help you address your carbon emission reductions. But at the same time, we can achieve multiple co-benefits that help those projects gain support and funding. So we can address deferred maintenance. We can coincide this plan with your existing known capital improvement upgrades. We can improve building comfort, reduce costs. We can increase resiliency throughout each step of this process. It also helps to have a proactive plan so we're not making reactive decisions and not doing sort of one-off projects. All of those co-benefits really help get funding for these projects. Just to take a quick step back, we've talked a lot about decarbonization. In the context of the kind of decarbonization master plan that we're talking about eliminating fossil fuels from buildings, so that's natural gas for heating, changing to electricity, and in your fleet vehicles, changing to electric vehicles. Once those are electrified, we can use renewable resources. It's really important to note that both your electric vehicle initiatives as well as your facilities decarbonization are both going to put extra strain on your electrical capacity of these facilities and the properties that you own. So those have to be planned kind of hand in hand. Okay, so now we're going to go through our kind of extensive experience. We've learned a lot. We've done millions and millions of square feet of these. So what are some of the keys for you guys when you're looking for partners and you're looking to develop a decarbonization master plan? What do you need to know? What should you be looking for? So the first key to success is to have that plan be based on data. It needs to require energy modeling and a holistic understanding of the buildings. You see here on this screen some of the major facilities at Eagle County. This holistic approach might seem obvious. It might seem, well, of course, everybody's going to collect this data. We see a lot of master plans in the marketplace that are either based on rules of thumb or per square footage. They only addressed central plant equipment, or maybe they're very vague. They sort of lay out a plan, but there's not the detail that you need for it to be an actionable roadmap. So that deep understanding and then looking at the buildings holistically will prevent us from doing sort of one-for-one replacements that can be really costly. We had a client here in the mountains who, before working with us, they wanted to electrify one of their facilities that had a natural gas boiler plant. They put an electric boiler, and immediately their utility bills tripled or quadrupled, and they started seeing $60,000 or $80,000 electricity bills. They didn't change anything else about the building, and that's the problem. We have a small graph at the bottom here, a small table, that illustrates that in using Colorado average utility rates, switching from natural gas to electric resistance is going to increase your utility bills by 400%. That's really not something anybody wants to accept. However, if we can do heat pump options, which requires a holistic understanding of a building and other changes, we can get that down quite a bit to being almost on par. The second key to success is to reduce loads in buildings before we electrify them. I heard a couple of other people mention it in previous presentations, but if your building is wasting 30% of the energy that it consumes, and then we're electrifying that, we're putting in larger systems than we need, it's more costly than we need, and we have to make greater impact upgrades to the electrical infrastructure to get it there. So you're looking at Millig's sort of decarbonization. This is kind of our food pyramid, right? And the basis of the pyramid is load reduction. So that's what we've got to do first. Okay, key to success number 3 is to focus, have the folks that you're working with when you partner on this, they need to present a plan that is phased, that you can implement over time, and is synergistic with your other capital improvement needs. Many of our clients have 2030 goals and 2050 goals. We have 35, we're looking to reach net zero over a 35-year process. Over that 35 years, you're going to replace nearly all of the equipment in most of your buildings. So if we can piggyback on work that already needs to be done over that time period. There's only a small incremental cost to upgrading it to decarbonized systems. Instead of trying to sell the project as just decarbonization alone, it becomes a lot more feasible. So Millig's approach here is to do the comprehensive analysis, identify everything that needs to be done, phase it out, front load the high impact projects so we can build some excitement, we can build some momentum, we can educate the community about them, start taking advantage of those energy and carbon emissions reductions right away. And we can focus on end-of-life systems first, and then tackle other existing systems a little later in its life cycle. The graphic you're looking at here is the emissions from all of Eagle County's facilities, and this is just one way to kind of narrow in where can we get the biggest bang for our buck. Okay, the final key that we have time to cover today is to take advantage of all external funding opportunities. You're looking at Eagle County's campus where they're putting in a geothermal well field. This project was over 50% funded from outside sources, which makes it a lot easier to get the funding to match that. Okay, so we've gone through this strategic, thoughtful process of modeling and building this out. So what are the results for Eagle County? Well, first, a couple of basics. Eagle County's building portfolio is 21 buildings, about 550,000 square feet. They named their baseline emissions year as 2023, and in 2023 they emitted about a little over 1,700 tons of carbon. So since then, they've already completed or are underway with projects that reduce that by 390 tons, which is a 22% reduction. So what they have left to meet their 2030 goal of a 50% reduction is the other 28% reduction off of their baseline. Millig was able to identify a priority project list that can be implemented between now and 2030 for a total project cost of about $6 million that gets them to their 50% reduction. We also were able to achieve a net energy cost reduction of $20,000. That's not a lot, but when you understand that electrification not done strategically can quadruple your utility bills, getting a net decrease is a big win. Some of the key projects include at the Justice Center, replacing the natural gas boiler plant there with a heat pump plant and a geothermal tie-in. At the airport, a real cost-effective, easy thing to do is to address the infrared gas heaters. Also at the airport, we have an innovative plan to utilize terminal exhaust air as makeup air for a semi-indoor, outdoor baggage handling area. And then we have a number of community centers that have sort of packaged unitary equipment that can pretty easily be traded out for heat pumps. So we can tackle all of those. So with the work that Eagle County's already done and the work that we've identified here, Eagle County is going to be able to meet their 50% reduction for in the ballpark of about $13 to $15 million. So that's not chump change, but it is doable over, that's if over 7 years, it's about $1.5 million a year. Putting a plan together can make this really achievable. Okay, now let's compare Eagle County's results to what Millig has seen nationwide in our 22 million square feet of analysis. We did a meta-analysis of all of our completed decarbonization plans, path to net zero, and we were able to pull out a really cool metric, which is the average cost, installed cost to achieve 1 ton of carbon emission savings. So this is a subset of our projects that we've done. Couldn't get more on there, or else you start to be able to not read anything. But this yellow box are a lot of our pharmaceutical clients and hospital clients, 24/7, really high energy use. We can get more bang for our buck there. If we change out a boiler plant there, we can get a lot of carbon emissions reductions. And so we can do that for as low as $3,000 a ton of annual emissions reductions. However, most of you are probably in this blue box area. These are commercial buildings. These are office buildings, county courthouses, jails, K through 12 schools, universities, all kinds of different use case facilities. And what we find is a big range, but the average there is about $20,000 per ton of carbon emissions reduction. So for those of you out there that have already done your, have already done your greenhouse gas inventory, this could give you a rough ballpark of the magnitude of what needs to be done. Digging deeper into these stats, it's important to understand that doing your first phase of decarbonization is always going to be less expensive than the second phase. On average, we found that the first 50% reduction is about 15% less than that overall average, and the second 50% reduction is about 15% more than that average amount. So you can see there kind of how that ends up playing out. Okay. Last slide. So, we really want to emphasize that the way to get there, a lot of folks have climate action plans. They're big, they're broad, they don't have the granular detail. This equipment needs to be swapped out with this size of equipment in this year. They're not detailed enough to use as an actionable plan. So we recommend really doing that detailed decarbonization planning. And when you're out looking for a partner, you're writing RFPs, always ask for their work samples. Make sure that they're following these keys, that they are doing modeling of their facilities and deep understanding of the buildings holistically, and that we are reducing loads before we electrify, that they will provide a phased plan that's synergistic with your capital improvements that you already have on the table, and that they take advantage of external funding. So you can do this, it can be done, and there are experts there to help. So thank you so much for your time.